Thank you for joining us for this panel discussion on Art in the Cloud. Art in the Cloud is an online and offline event of Arts Electronica Festival 2021, Garden Hong Kong. These events include 3 parts. Part 1 is the online exhibition, which is now on the Arts Electronica Festival website and Garden Hong Kong website. The second part, we have 4 online panel discussions, started from 2 days ago until tomorrow. Part 3, Art in the Cloud is a program of Garden Hong Kong exhibition, a physical exhibition at Osage Gallery in Hong Kong. The discussion will be recorded. If you don't want to be recorded, please turn off your video. Today, the topic of the discussion is interactivity and immersion online. I am Mac, the creator, with the support of my colleagues, Lisa Park So-Young, Charlie Ip, and Sophie Jiang. And this event, Art in the Cloud, is chaired by Maurice Benayong, the pioneer media artist worldwide, and the professor at the School of Creative Media, City University of Hong Kong. I would like to take this chance to thank for the support of Neurodesign Lab, ASIM, that is the Center of Applied Computing and Interactive Media, School of Creative Media, City University of Hong Kong, Osage Art Foundation. The inspiration of Art in the Cloud comes from the idea virtual art space. Virtual art space is not a new concept. It has been explored for more than 20 years, but the development has not been well recognized until the COVID-19. In the past 18 months, it almost becomes the only solution to rebuild the human connection and receive high attention. I would say this is a miracle, but what does this miracle tell us? That is, it proves that this is a situation that everyone has been waiting for, and this moment has appeared now. Today is the 3rd day of the discussion. We are happy to have Tamas to be our moderator. And Tamas is an Hungarian media artist. He was selected to represent Hungary at the Venice Biennial in 2019. Currently, he is the professor at the School of Creative Media, City University of Hong Kong. To know more about Tamas, again, please visit our website, hkgardens.com. Now, may I pass the time to Tamas and our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne, for the introduction. And I would like to ask again, sorry and excuse that I was a little bit late. I don't know what happened. Anyhow, I would like to introduce today's artists who take part in this discussion. First of all, I would like to introduce Joseph Chen, artist from Hong Kong. And I would like to ask him to introduce himself in 2 minutes, if it's possible. Please.
Oh, hi, everyone. Hi, Tamas. Hi, Anne. And thank you for inviting me for the discussions. And I'm, like Tamas said, I'm an artist in Hong Kong, and I worked for design and making machines for around, I think, 10 plus years, around 10 something years. And recent years, I start making my own machines. And before that, I collaborate with artists and making machines for them, both for art and commercials.
Is that all? You don't want to tell more about yourself?
I like animals and space.
Okay. Anyhow, thank you. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Okay, the next artist I would like to ask for introduction is Marco Donnarumma. I hope I tell his name well. He is an artist, performance, stage director, and scholar. Please introduce yourself, if it's possible, in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Tamas. And hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Very happy to connect with Hong Kong community and also the other international speakers. So I'm speaking from Berlin, and as Tamas says, I'm an artist, a performer, and a scholar. I direct also hybrid live arts things, both in theaters, in dance places, but also in streets. And what I work with is mostly the body and all the different ways it connects with technology. And in the past 15 years, I've been using a range of technology to investigate the body, from biosensors to AI, robotics, prosthesis, and stuff in general that I use because I'm also a bit of a nerd. But for me, it's very important to use technology in a critical way. That's my basic approach to everything that I do. And I find in performance and music and sound my most comfortable way of communicating. And I also like a lot trees and walking in forest.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, the next artist on my list is David Rodriguez GIMENO. Again, I hope I pronounce his name well. Who works with digital technologies, from mobile sculpture, expanded cinema, video photography, and robotic installation. So please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm very happy to be involved in this panel and with all these people. And I have like different kind of activities related in art. I'm artist and I'm also technician, and I'm professor in some masters and universities in Spain and in Taiwan. And the main thing about my work is I try to understand the mental structures we use to reveal the image of the world. How much is about the world and how much is about ourselves. So I was going through different kind of approach, from the body, from performance, from music, from more kind of installations and cinema, but always with this kind of question in my brain, and also quite interesting in how we use media to use in his own way, make translation, just going through the idea to the new media to develop all the possibilities that we have. I will show a little stretch of my series to let you know a little the context. I will share my screen now.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
yeah, if you want, I share these screens. This is a sculpture with geometry and panoramic photographs. This is a sculpture with movement that controls the movement of my body in space. And this is video of the performance. This is also robotics. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just would like to tell you that now this is just a short introduction, and in the next round, I will ask everybody to present their work and, hold a little bit of presentation, okay?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, the next artist I would like to ask for a short introduction is Vvzela KOOK, artist who lives in Hong Kong, and she makes new media artworks since years here in Hong Kong and exhibits internationally. May I ask you to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Tamas. Very happy to be here and introduce myself and the works. So my name is Vvzela KOOK. I made this name up. So just call me Vivi. It's fine, double V. And I was born in mainland China and then moved to Hong Kong like some years ago and stayed long enough to know the city. And my works are for medium is basic video and some audio like as a main medium, but I also do some drawings installations, objects like transmedia storytelling, all the stuff together that create a very complete way of storytelling. And technology is more like the theme I'm working on instead of the medium. Yeah, I'm more like to research into the more consequence, more impact of new technology has in the like modernity, and yeah, more towards that direction. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next artist on my list is Ray Elsie, a colleague from SCM, and also he makes interactive artworks and works with cinematic storytelling and communication. Please introduce yourself. Is Ray here? Ray Elsie? No? Okay, I don't.
Oh, okay, there you go. It's unmuted now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thanks,
okay,
Tamas.
please.
Yeah, really happy to be here. Part of this panel. I think it fits really well because I'm also a maker who makes lots of toys and devices and machines that have a certain level of emotionality. And like David, also I start from the kind of the human mind perspective to think about how devices and spaces influence us. And I use this to build artistic work which kind of probe our connection with technology. So all of these things that you probably have heard from the previous speakers, which tells you that this panel is so well sculpted by Anne and also Tamas. And thanks for the introduction, and happy to discuss with all of you.
Thank you. Actually, it's really Anne who organized this group. I also had this impression that it's a very well organized group. I'm just moderating it, so okay. So and the last artist today is Pei-Chwen Lin. Again, I'm sorry if I don't spell your name well. She's from Taiwan and one of the pioneers of digital arts in Taiwan. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Thomas. Can you hear me okay? Yes, thank you. My name is Pei-Chwen. It's my great honor to be invited by curator Mark to participate in this wonderful Hong Kong Garden for LIN's Art Electronic Festival. I also want to express my thanks to Anne, Jen, Joanna, and my curator, Min Turner, and many my young artists, including Iverson, Jack, Yunju, for helping me to make this presentation possible. Also, thanks to the director of the Hong Kong Garden, Maurice, to introduce this great concept. And thanks to Anne to share her vision with me in her exhibition and panel discussion Art in the Cloud. I think I will write an article to introduce it in Taiwan, especially in very famous artist magazine next month. Yeah. Well, I myself, I received the Doctor of Creative Arts in Australia, University of Wollongong. I was the professor in National University of Arts and set up the very first department of the multimedia art and animation in Taiwan when I was the head of a graduate school there. And currently I applied retirement because I want to concentrate my work, personally. But now I'm still leading my lab artists to make many great projects. I'm very proud of them. And they received many awards over the world, including the Jury Award, their first prize in the Angon Bars Digital Art Festival in France. And I also curate, I'm sorry. It's okay now? 金祥跳掉了呢。金祥 sorry.
So please just go on.
Okay, yeah. Because my computer just got something wrong. Okay, I also curate series Taiwan digital art exhibition for many years with other artists and curators together, such as Professor Jen Chen and Min Tunnell and Aaron Chu. I published the first digital art book in Taiwan called Taiwan Digital Art E-Files. My work Equine series has been exhibited in many art museums and venues all over the world, such as Queen's Museum of Art in New York, Exit and Via Art Festival in France, and WRO Media Art Vienna in Poland, and Taipei Vienna, Taiwan Vienna Art Stage Singapore. And I'm very lucky in 2019, one of my works, Making of Equine won award, the first prize of the new media art category in Florence, Vienna of International Award in Italy. I'm very happy to be one of the artists in this panel, hosted by Anne and especially Tamas, and because I admire Tamas very much. When I meet you in Macau, when my lab's work show in the Secret Asia, and I also saw your work in Venice, Vienna in 2019 when I show my work in Florence, Vienna. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody, these introductions. That was great. This was the first round to know each other a little bit better. And now, as far as I know, everybody has a short video or some kind of visual presentation. And this I would like to ask again in this order, so to everybody to show this this video with the work. So I would like to ask again Joseph Chen to show his video. Well, thank you very much. I had the chance to see some of your works in real, you know, and it's really amazing that how these constructions work. Do you have a presentation about your work and yourself? Do you want to share it with us, Joseph? I'm sorry, do you hear me?
Yes, I just can't unmute myself.
I see.
Now it's okay. It's okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for the video and also the introductions. Maybe I can show, because the video is quite short, the 1 minute video, so I may also share some of them more. So let me share the screen first. I hope everyone can see this.
Yes.
So I really hope I'm not embarrassing myself too much before in front of those masters, because like I said, I'm really a very new artist. So my works are quite they are not much. This thing, it shows, it's actually like a clockwork, and you see the 3 moons, and it's actually showing the moon phases, and it's keep running, and it will align itself here, like in a month. So this is actually a device to show the moon phases alignment. And this is like some clockworks, and you can clearly see all the workings. And also some more ordinary machines like this. It is an orrery, which is like some planets rotating about the stars, but this is not a planet or stars. This is actually a black hole, and some spaceships and an astronaut, some unlucky one, revolve around them. So you can see the construction. And again, it is intentional to show all the clockworks and the arrangements of the machines. Also some kind of clockwork things. So like I said, I'm quite in love with space and natures. So a lot of my works are involved the themes of space and animals. So you can see, oh, this is another one. And like this is some bird automatons. So we can see 3 birds flapping their wings, and we have some mechanical base here to drive all of them. This is actually a second set of my bird, because I also make another one. This is a single bird before. So you can see this is another mechanical bird I made. And besides those things, another animal I made so far is some imaginary one. This is not exist, of course. This is like creatures with 15 legs, which can walk, rotate itself, self-rotating creatures. And you can see the legs. This is quite like a centipede, but it loop itself. So it is quite large. When I do this and exhibit this, we have like 6 to 8 very strong male adults, and so still we have very hard time to lift it up. So very heavy. And I also did make this is actually a marble machine I made last year. So you can see all of my works have machines and inner workings exposed. Okay, I think I have shown enough of my works. And should I also start present my thinking of all of my works?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Again, this is only my very brief and very young, very new reflections of my own works, because clearly I create kinetic art. So I think a lot why I'm creating them, why this form of art, what is the special, what is the essence in it. So let me start. Okay. First of all, the kinetic art is tangible, right? It is very, very obviously it's tangible, because all of my works, all of my works exist in the physical world, and this is my first thing. This is the first thing to note, and then we can think. It exists independently. What does that mean? It's like a moon. Because it is not like another art form, it exists physically, so it also exists independently in the physical world. It is like the moon. The moon remains. It's not our imagination. It exists objectively. So the next thing I noticed, what makes kinetic art special is it changed the world without us. Because we have a lot of art form, right? We have music. Science is not an art, but it surely is a creation of humanity. We have science, we have math, we have philosophy, a lot of them. But only the machines, I think it is quite special about machine is that we kind of creating machines to replace human. We never did compose music or draw a painting to replace human, right? But somehow we created a machines more or less to replace human. A lot of time, of course, it is not always replacing human, maybe just enhancing humans as a tool, something like that. But we surely can observe these properties of the machines is it exists independently and it can change the world without us. So this is quite special for the kinetic things. And so the next step, how we perceive machines, it's like kind of part of nature because it exists itself. So what we observe to a machine, because when I do my works and I observe the visitors, their reactions and their way to how they perceive the kinetic works is quite similar to what we watching animals go to zoos and watching some natural things. So machines are quite close or similar to nature. They arouse curiosities and just like what the creatures or the birds are shown. People like that, or at least I wish they look it like going to a zoo and watch our creatures. So if you know the machine, how it works, then you act like a medical student, like how it is construct, how does it work, and does it grow easily? How to make this, how to make that. We can observe a lot of such reactions for the visitors, for the viewer who know or who interested of how it works. And for my analogy of animal, it's quite like you are a vet and you are you know how the animals, their economy, then you tend to act like a medical person. And if you don't know how it's work, then you just act like the others, like you are amazed by them, and like we observe, because we all go to zoo, right? But not all of us is an expert on animals, but we still enjoy it and have interest and curiosities towards the animals. So this is the objects this is the bird, and this is not mine. I just show it together to show some typical kinetic things. So like I said, they exist independently without us, and I think this is quite essential for this art form. It don't require someone to play it; it just moves itself. So I hope you can see my point that it's kind of like an animal or natural creatures, because they exist and they change and they work without us. So I just want quick because I also work on commercials and art. So art or tool? Is my work art or tool? I quite often been asked for these questions. So I think it is not quite hard to distinguish it, because obviously for tools, they serve some useful purpose, and for art, it serves an artistic purpose. So, well, because art is hard to define, all right? So let me have another analogy of this, because in ethics, we know what is utilitarianism and deontology, right? So I think a tool is like utilitarian. It has some value, depends on the context. So the values tend to change with the context, like what I design tools and device and machines for performance for commercial projects. The value is varied. But for an art or for the art piece I make for my own, I would like to compare it to a more deontology approach. I hope I can find some intrinsic value inside. So it is quite important to me, because like what I go through previously, I hope to find something why I like machines, why I make them. Why is the machine so special to me, to the visitor? So it is quite important to me to find some intrinsic value inside, rather than some utilitarian value which changes and varies, and that I will consider is a tool more than an art.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Okay, so just go on. I saw that.
Okay, so this is the last slide, I think. So I can come up with a lot of reasons why we like machines, like why we like kinetic art. It is about the ingenuity of humanity to show it, like the pleasure of skills, and to mimic natures, because a lot of kinetic artists, they make their works to mimic natures. A lot of them, the automatons, create birds and fish, something like that. And also to extend our own existence, because they exist without us and beyond us. So there's a lot of reasons that I will keep searching for, but I think there may be no single answer, single factor. Maybe a lot of them, maybe all of them, be part of them. But I will keep searching why people and why I like machines, the reasons why we like them. This is also one of the reasons I keep creating art, kinetic art, I mean.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting, and I myself have a lot of questions about this, because of course we like machines, but maybe there are some people who don't really like machines, and machines can be really interesting and can really help us or extend us or change the world. But for those people who are not as familiar with the machines as you, sometimes they can be really, dangerous, or can be really, frightening, because they just don't know the working principles. But maybe we can discuss about these things later, or I don't know if we still have time. But my main question to you is now that, okay, these machines exist. These are metal constructions. These are real objects. Would you be so kind to tell just shortly that what is your connection, or how you see the connection of these machines and the virtual world, these machines and the internet? Because, this is what we are doing now, this whole discussion, this whole Ars Electronica garden online. This is the main question, that can you imagine to put your machines online, or can you imagine that people can enjoy your work online, or how do you see this?
I see the answer is quite intuitive because, like I said, I already consider them as part of the nature, and it is tangible. The tangible part, of course, when it is go online, at least for now, because the technology is not advanced enough to make it tangible. But by what is mean tangible, it's not necessary for you to really touch it or really on site, because when we watching some documentaries about birds, a lot of birds I didn't see them real person, but I know them and I know they are real. They are tangible to me. So the tangible part, I think, even if it goes online, the tangible part is still there because we obviously believe it exists in the physical world. And on top of that, I think we can even, because that is a physical world, right? We can even have some change some rules in the physical world, because a very simple example is that when we watch some bird documentary, we like to see how the birds is flying. We have slow motions. Slow motions is we already changed some rules, some fundamental rules of the real world. In the real world, we never can see a bird in such slow motion, but in an online context, you can do that. And it's also still tangible and still very physical. So I think this principle is working on my works too. I don't need to sacrifice the tangible part of my work. It's never been that.
I see.
Yes.
I see. Okay, thank you very much. For me, it was a really interesting answer. I would like to continue on questions and listen more about this, but we don't have enough time. So I would like to go to the next artist, and thank you for this presentation and these nice ideas. So I would like to ask Marco Donnarumma to show his video and then maybe to make his presentation too.
Okay, so thanks, Charlie, for playing the video. I'm gonna share my screen. So, the video we've seen is a bunch of excerpts from a live performance, which is a street performance. And I was asked to talk about this piece because it was made during the pandemic, and it was created on purpose to try and find ways to perform during the harshest time of the pandemic. I'm mostly a performer and media artist, so I do have experience with technology and streaming and whatnot. But I was a bit put off during the pandemic by the overwhelming amount of choices to put content online only, whereas there is a lot that can be done in the streets, in the building, from windows, in the real world. So for me, all the discussion around online versus offline was a bit too heavily inclined towards putting everything online just because it's easier and just because there is a company like Zoom that it can make money out of it, out of all our work. And so with this particular piece, this was created with an artist group that I recently co-founded with Margherita Pevere and Andrea Familari. And Margherita is a bio artist and a performer. Andrea Familari is a multimedia artist and video artist. And we actually created this artist group from Tevaco exactly to reason not much about the pandemic itself, because we created the group just at the like a couple of months before the pandemic started, but to reflect about all the convergence of elements that also included the pandemic, which are socio-political polarization, the disruption of the planet ecosystem, and the role of technology in all of this. So we've been trying now to develop some formats that we can stream online, but that still is not our main purpose. So what I'm trying to say is that doing things online is cool, and as Anne has already said, there's been tons of experiments and works in the past 20 years, so there's nothing new really. What's new now is that we feel forced to do it. That's the only thing that is new. And I think there is a lot of possible interweaving between artists like us, or like also like Joseph is doing machine, and I'm working with machines too. But there can be a lot of interweaving with experimenting with formats that are hybrid. So, you know, for instance, now in my previous cycle of work, which I did as a personal experimentation, this cycle of work is called 7 Configuration. And for this piece, I collaborated with a laboratory of neurorobotics here in Berlin to create AI robotic prostheses and use them as kinetic machines on their own in installation, but also in performance. And here you can see some material from the research. So I was working with a sculptor and with an engineer. We did 3D printed everything, and then we created various machines. This is amygdala. This is Ray, which I use in a performance. So for instance, the most basic thing that you can do here is also to show this object as 3D. But is that satisfying enough? No, that is my question. Does that remain faithful to the work itself? Maybe not in this case. But in a case like with a performance, for instance, I think there are parts of some aspect of a particular performance that can be translated approximately online. And so thinking about the trailer that you've seen, I'm going to show you some pics from the performance. So you can see like people is very distant from me as the performer, and everybody is sitting aside, the distance between each other. And this is still a live experience, and this can still happen during pandemic times, even if like the worst come to worst. But at the same time, there are ways in which this can be augmented, if you want, with an online streaming. And some parts of the video that you saw are the direct output of the AI algorithm that we used in this performance. And what we try to do in the video is just to give some kind of feeling of what the algorithm is doing during the performance. And what's interesting about this is that during the performance, you don't see what the algorithm is doing. You don't read the log of the algorithm. So we're using the online format to show things that are not visible in the real life performance. I think that could be another interesting way of doing things. And I feel like my time is probably up, and it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being so precise with the time, because yes, unfortunately, you know, we have to divide the time that everybody should have this presentation. Thank you for this very interesting presentation and with the images. I've seen, of course, your video with the performance, but I didn't see this 3D, these beautiful 3D sculptures before. Very interesting. Also, your ideas about what can be online and what cannot be online. I'm also hesitating about this. You know, I tried to make online exhibition, but you know, it's absolutely not like a real exhibition and so on. But yeah, thank you very much. And now I would like to go to the next artist for and ask the video and the presentation. And this is David Rodriguez GIMENO. And please show his video now. May I ask you to explain a little bit these videos? As I saw, we have seen a segment of one of your video work or two of your video works, and then a little a documentary of a real exhibition. Would you be so kind to speak more about the works and connection to new media works or online works?
Yeah, of course. First, I would like to say that I think it's really clever the choosing of artists you have made. Even the order, I don't know if it's made thinking of, but I feel like quite in the middle way in between Joseph and Marcus and the performance artist. Because I always working with my body and with machines who control my body in the space. But later on, I just realized even walking in the space, I'm projecting the structure I have in the brain. So I was simplifying more my action in the space, but revealed the image of the space related to the structure I have in my brain. And as we were talking about immersion, to be in the space, I was showing this work, the first part was like a wall, is filming in Antarctica. I was talking about the geometry we used to rebuild the space. So I make a project there because I just realized is the space is not well shown in the maps. When we develop the map, it's not the area that is already well represented, and it's talking about the structure who is built to represent one part of the earth and not another one. But also to be into the space, I was transforming this in a flat image because it's like a metaphor of the brain. It's not, it don't have to be immersive by it. It's like a part of the language we can use. So this first time, this first space which is white, I'm walking in the glacier. I will share my okay. So this first piece, I'm walking this kind of a Cartesian geometry in the space, building this geometry in the snow, and also rebuild this kind of memory of timing of my action. It's always also about memory and how we rebuild the image and how we rebuild the memory. This second part is already developed and is just a piece who show how I look to the space. There's, I take this piece also because it has one screen version, which is this one. You have the whole landscape and these small squares is about how I look to the space, but also has a machine who is copying this, this structure. This machine in the background is a TV who moves and copy my movement to see the space. So it's a video, it's a machine, but it's copying my way of look to the space in this concrete moment. So it's talking about the process we use to understand one place. I was taking this serious because I was thinking sometimes we use media in a first step. We use just the language without really take all the advantage we have. So for me, it's quite important to go deeply in how the media is given to us and try to build pieces who grow in this media. But also it can be translation. I mean, we were talking about how perform in live, or how perform online. For me, was also a question how to perform on video. It's quite the same kind of questions. What video can present or represent of performance? And online, we have the same kind of difficulties and challenge. But I feel we just start to build the language, I mean. And also because in this pandemic moment, the people are really online, visiting all the information online. So I feel the way people access to the information is also changing his way to expect the information, how to be. And we should work with this kind of limitation. Also, and knowledge is like the beginning of the cinema. The beginning of the cinema, people didn't understand the relation between time. And step by step, we already build all this language. And I think online we have the same kind of situation sometimes. The language is quite new in a way we don't use it a lot. Sometimes we present a lot, we represent a lot, but don't build inside a lot. It's quite of the challenge. And also I want to present one of the pieces who is about machines and rebuild. You have here the movement machine. And this is a panoramic also built by night in Antarctica. And it's a piece who is built by 12 35mm projectors, who has, every projector has his own loop. The movement of the projectors is synchronized only one motor, and all the narration and the random who is going through this landscape is built in by the machine. Also to talk about how machines and how is building something that we feel is natural, but there's so many structures and science and way to understand the world who is behind. Is not, maybe it's natural, but it's not without putting ourselves inside, I mean. But I think the more important question for me is how we can feel we can use the media and not be used by, in a way. So for me, it's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this really interesting presentation. I mean, especially this last work was very impressive with this lots of projectors. I mean, it's really amazing.
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
Yeah. Look, again, I would have some questions, but Charlie just reminded us that actually everybody should ask questions, not just me. You know, I just try to sort of balance between good timing and you know asking questions and asking the next artist. But if anybody has any question to you or even to the previous two artists, please just go on, and I would be very happy to hear questions from others too. It's also very interesting for me that you said that you also have this connection between your body movement and the installation, like with Marco, with the previous installation, although these are very two different approaches, but it's very interesting to connect the body to this kind of representation of time and space.
Yeah, I think for me it was a long process. I was making these kind of things for 20 years. So I clean the process more and more. And at the end, the last pieces, this one with movement, the screen with movement, I just realized even the way I look to the place is already a movement. And everything is already built there. So the machine represents my process, my movement through the space. So it became something like this, more and more simple, by the way.
Yes, and actually, for me, in all these three presentations, what we heard until now, it was interesting that actually machines can work or exist as a kind of extension of a human body, or as really as an animal, as we heard in the first presentation, or in sync with the human body movement. So it's really we are speaking about machines which are much more which are used on a much more humanistic and critical way than you know everyday machines in a household, for example.
But also I think machines are also is showing how we understand the world. In the way the machine is working is already a meaning for me. Mm-hmm. So even because they let us do the things in one way, so it's building the result. But also in this kind of art machines, I mean, I developed the whole system from the machine to work as I need to. Yes. It's like the painter who built his own colors. So I developed all the electronics and programming to make the machine feel to the audience, transmit these kind of feelings that I want to. So we became not only users, but also developers of system who has content. And in this process, I think we can understand the how we made the things is also a content. And yes. It's related with internet and with online. How we present is already a content. How we use, how we get access to information. Also how we learn internet to show us information is already like a machine. Or this kind of selection by YouTube that show you some kind of videos. We are teaching this artificial intelligence to show us things. It's already this kind of relation to build our own machine who can be useful for us or not useful for us. It depends how we teach it. So I was looking to this kind of more analogic things to work on the more digital, because sometimes I think we are in the middle of the forest and it's not easy to see inside the forest. Sometimes it's more easy to see if we look far away to analog or to kind of machines to think about the problems that we have in digital, because we are already inside.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I would like to continue because, again, time is very important. And I would like to ask Vvzela KOOK to show the video and then make a presentation about the video. So thank you for this video. Frankly speaking, when I saw this video, I was really surprised because I know and like some of your earlier works, and it seemed to me that this is very different than your earlier works. And frankly, I don't really know what it is. So would you be so kind to speak a little bit about this work and you know about your idea about this?
Sure, of course. Let me share my screen first. So yeah, I was kind of surprised when I saw the presentation of the previous three artists, because you know they are basically like having the body and machine. They have different relationship and they have different usage, so to say, usage of the body and the machine. And I happen to choose the only machine-related work I've ever done. So, like you said, I mainly working on videos and computer graphics and all the animations. I'm still doing that, but this one is actually not work itself, and it's not even a proper documentation. It's a kind of like it's a exhibition situation in Parasite, the solo exhibition I've done last year. And for yourself, it's a conveyor belt, and people so to say lie down on the conveyor belt in order to activate a video. After watching the video, they will be transferred to another room. So the content of the video is also like very important in this context, but I will leave it to later. And then I was like staring at the screen, like so to say spying the audience interaction with the conveyor belt for some safety issue. And then I was like kind of intrigued by second layer or second meaning added by this surveillance screen. So yeah, this is the reason I want to put this video here. Yeah, now I want to like introduce more about this project itself instead of like just this. Yeah, so the exhibition was in Parasite. It's called Confidential Records Overwrite. Probably Tamas, you know, it's the one of my ongoing projects about underground Kowloon Walled City, the sci-fi one. So it originated from my research into the history of Kowloon Walled City, drawing inspiration from scientist Ray Kurzweil's law of acceleration returns, which that law explained the how technology grows exponentially instead of linearly, and we are right before the explosion. And work extrapolate a future in which the development of artificial intelligence is so advanced that threaten the existence of human beings. And human being work as community phenomenon, bombing the city above ground, attempting to take back the sole sovereignty. And while in the eyes of majority, in this case, the artificial intelligence, that were being produced day and night. This practice was nothing but a vandalism and terrorism, political, so to say, violence against the future civilians in the city. So yeah, that's a bit of background of the work. So this is the proper installation. So you activate the video, and the video content is like you have committed a crime, and you have to go through this process of reformation and ideology remodeling. And then after this process, you come a so-called whole new world. So this is the full context of this. Yeah. And then and for the, okay, a little bit recapping to our theme, art in the cloud. So what I've been showing is the installation view of the concrete of a physical exhibition in a physical world. So the other artwork I want to introduce is that we made a website also for this exhibition as a multimedia walk. It's part of the exhibition, also an extension of the exhibition, because this show was open like late last year, and we were also considering the COVID situation, and we expect people to have at least some of the access to some of the content of the exhibition. So we made it into a like totally online version, that media walk. So there's a like exhibition booklet in the venue, and you will find this postcard with kind of a short intro of the story and the QR code, and people can scan the QR code and access to the another this website is the Media Walk website. The green triangle is actually where the exhibition venue, the Parasite, located. So you will be, let me refresh this. Yeah, so this 2047 is when this my sci-fi story happens. Yeah, so when it fade out, it gives you like instructions. So locate yourself at the ground floor of this address, and then yeah, the whole walk will take about 35 minutes. And then there are like instructions and to guide you through all the way. And then there's one specific 1-minute video I want to share is here. It's 1:43. Huh?你可能你要帮我一下了。你可以在你这边share。Sorry, we just found out that my webpage sound didn't go through. So yeah, Charlie will share her screen instead of, sorry.
I have never understood why you deal with such useful organic matter so simply. Just think about it. Take only fats for example. Fats are triglycerides composed of glycerol and fatty acids. Glycerin alone provides the perfect biodiesel and lubricant for third polar. For the cleaning supplies, toothpaste, and medicines used by you pure blood humans, only a small amount can meet the supply, and the same goes for unsaturated fatty acids. In the past, your diet easily caused deficiencies of fatty acids, but now it's good to take polyunsaturated fatty acids derived from human fat directly. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health just released this year's Health Index report. The prevalence of cardiovascular diseases and cancer in pure blood humans has dropped by 2% compared with last year. This proves that our approach is very effective.
Yeah, probably you could see now the linkage between the footage in surveillance camera and in the media walks is that in the actual exhibition venue, I create one person experience in a small room, and later when the audience check the media walk, regardless where they are, whether they're in the same venue outside, following the route, or at home in the couch watching the video, they could pick up the physical experience of them being on the exact conveyor belt. And then not only the feeling, but also there are some object placed in the exhibition. For example, this one is the some like whitish plate for whatever use we don't know at the exhibition venue when you see it. And then later at the end of the media walk, you realize, okay, this kind of like a memory card after this person is deceased. And then especially in the exhibition venue, it was exhibited especially as a tombstone kind of thing. Also, if you have been to Parasite and know and follow the media walk route, you will find some weird connections or indication between the story and the actual world. For example, the place where the main character got shot was actually near Hong Kong funeral home, and the surveillance headquarters is situated in the same location as the North Point police station. All of this, I would say, they serve as a so-called augmented reality purpose. The object blurs the physical boundary of the actual and virtual world, and they accentuate the credibility of the whole work to make audience to feel more related. And for this specific work, for this specific storytelling, and this is exactly the feeling I want to convey. Yeah, the time is up. So yeah, this is also the neon sign of the work of the installation shop. So that's probably, yeah, the conclusion of that project. So I'll stop here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I see more the connection between your previous works and this video, what you showed us. You told that with this video Parasite exhibition, you were prepared to make a virtual exhibition because of the COVID situation. I mean, this website, what we saw, it's a sort of virtual exhibition. Can you imagine that the virtual exhibition can be as good, as important, as effective as a real exhibition?
There are like some reasons we made it into a completely like website-based work. One of the COVID, of course. Another thing is I once worked in like an actual media walk before. It was so well organized, but like so few people can actually experience because it requires a lot of like manpower, a lot of technical issues, a lot of like organization. So very little people can actually experience the work. And in this way, I think not only during the exhibition period of time, but now we can review it and later people can also see it. And yeah, that's like very practical purposes. And also I feel that when in 2020, yeah, when the COVID just broke out and like every museum, every institution are starting to do online exhibitions. And because of course they have a little turnaround time that to adapt everything into a like online version. I think most of the method they're using is to just upload a video and make a like online streaming thing, which is, well, you know, they're not made for like online streaming, but like in recent months, I really have like really, I've seen like really good online theater. You know, can you believe that this term is really existing like nowadays, online theaters? Of course, online works, online exhibitions that are really made for online platforms and made for like individuals experiencing in front of the screen. And then, so yeah, I actually believe that as long as the theme, appropriate theme and appropriate method was using by the artists, yeah, I feel like, yeah, online art is, yeah, it's also a irreplaceable form, a proper form as well. Yeah, that's my experience. Yeah, from the past.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Okay, so let's go to the next artist and watch his video. I would like to see the video of Ray LC, if it's possible, and then also hear his presentation about it. Thank you for the video. When I watched it first time, it seemed to me that it's an interesting a series of morphs between urban and nature landscapes. But please tell more about this and how you did it and yeah, what was the trick at the background?
Hi. So I'll share my screen real fast. Yeah, thanks for that, Tamas. So I'll just give you a slight context on what the idea was about. So it's actually a companion piece with a previous piece that was shown at the Osage. So let me just tell you like kind of 1 minute about this piece. So this is also using machine learning to generate these kind of interpolated images. But this is coming basically when I was quarantining in Hong Kong to get to CityU. And basically I was sitting around and I was trying to figure out like what do people actually feel during quarantine of all the people in Hong Kong. And I basically put in a bunch of interior shots of in Hong Kong interior homes between really high class areas into like kind of these bathrooms and and abandoned places. You can actually see some of these abandoned places here. And when I finished creating this piece, basically my thought was like, okay, I created something really interesting using machine learning, but can I give sort of these immersive views using these strategies as well? And the other thing that I wanted to do was actually kind of like get out of like the space that I was like stuck in. And so I just, luckily I took like thousands of 360 photos in Hong Kong. So unbelievably, the video that you saw is completely generated from my own photos, which usually it's very difficult with something like StyleGANs 2, which is like a big machine learning kind of model. Usually you need a lot of data, but apparently I had tons of data. So that's the context of what that was. Basically, I used this model to generate. Basically, it has a kind of a multi-space of what the entirety of my photo set feels like. And then I asked it to kind of walk around the space of possibilities. And every frame that you see is actually an imaginary frame created by the machine. The only other thing I wanted to say about that is that is that the music actually also generated using machine learning, and it's basically based on my own improvisation. And then I asked the machine to basically first generate an accompaniment, and then after I did that, I actually asked it to generate the actual timbre of the piece, so the actual musical synthesis part of it. And then I asked it to kind of vary its timbre over time, and so that's why you hear these kind of weird kind of saxophone, piano kind of transitions. So that's what it is. I think I probably have a few minutes. I did not intend to talk about this next part at all, but because we were talking about distance performances, I wanted to just bring up a really, really short thing that me and my students have been working on. So in case you guys are interested, this is also work that's like submitted to a paper, based also an art kind of intervention. Just really quickly, so me and my students here, we created basically this platform for the audiences to get involved with a performance piece. So just very quickly, basically these individual boxes on the side here are actually what the audiences see. So they all see slightly different perspective. And basically the performer actually sees a, actually let me just show you the video. I think that's a little bit easier. Oops. So the actual kind of prototype for this thing looks a little bit like this. So you actually have these things happening over time, because when people move these lights, so the lights are actually movable by the people. Actually, let's go back to here. So the people in the audience are actually moving these lights. And then when they move a certain light, the average is being shown in this red. And basically the performer can kind of improvise based on the light. I think that's kind of the main idea, is that when we did the study, we found that basically people really have trouble like improvising in these spaces, right? If you think about it, you're looking at a single camera looking at you. So everything is prearranged. Everything can be choreographed exactly the way you want it, right? You don't need audiences per se. So this was a way for us to prototype that experience, like when you actually have lights flashing in the audience and people being angry or people talking on a cell phone. What does that actually feel like to the performer? And so when we interviewed these 9 performers, they basically gave us this thing. That's one of the things they really wanted, is to actually still feel that improvisational nature. And so, yeah, anyway, so if you guys are interested in this, you can go to my website and check out this kind of more, I would say, a little bit more interactive technology, scientific look on things. But it's actually really important in these days, because we have not found really like deep studies of what people actually feel like and what people actually need and kind of desire in these spaces with the distance performances. So thanks.
Thank you very much. It was quite, how can I say, short but interesting. One question. Maybe I don't understand you well. I took part several times in such projects when it was a performance, and somehow it interacted with the computer. Yeah, some kind of computer system with sensors or anyway. And my main problem was most of the time, and this is also a question to Marco, that if you have a performance, in a very traditional performance, you already can synchronize very well the music, the images, the video, because in every performance there is a technician sitting at the back and, you know, controlling everything. So what's the difference between, not just the theoretical, but really from the audience point of view? What's the difference between such a performance when you have some kind of real interaction with the system, with any kind of system?
Yeah, I guess I can start off, and then Marco, I'm sure, can have lots of really great insights on this, because that's what he does as well, you know, really cool stuff. So I guess from my perspective, we kind of have these really similar questions to what Tamas was having, was like, you know, how does it make sense to people, you know? So that's why we actually did like the study with actual performers, like professional. In fact, you actually have to be someone who performed online in order to do an interview with us. So it's actually very targeted to specific folks, kind of like us actually in some ways. But I would say, I kind of skipped over some of the details when I was going through, but one of the things that's really important that we saw, based on our kind of findings on these areas is kind of, there's this idea of like this deferral in time, right? So because of two things. One is because there's a delay when you're actually doing the performance. But number two is that there's also this like personal deferring of all the stuff that you've been happening to you. Like, like you were gonna meet your mom and dad, but you can't do anymore. Your thing got tycoon, got canceled, now it's gonna some other time, right? But this interesting thing is actually what we find when we do the investigation is that people actually like overcome that by treating them as creative constraints. Like all those little things, for example, the time delay, people use that to make an artistic thing from it, like it actually makes it cool to now like delay or, that kind of stuff, right? So actually, I think that's the thing that we took away the most based on that. And that's why when we give people this, prototype type system to kind of play with, like this network-based system to play with, people really found that it kind of enriched like what they were able to think from it. And it's actually, I think one of the really key thing, going back to addressing Tamas's question, is basically like the online performance is a new art form. I think that's one of the key things I think I would like to say in addressing to this is that you're not necessarily taking away things. You are taking away things, but when you're taking away things, people treat it as a creative constraint. They all do, like for example, you cannot touch. So one of the performers was like, well, can I understand the rhythm of the audience when I hear it in the Zoom? So it's actually super interesting the way people transform that. And actually, when we created the prototype, people had a lot of interest into like, oh, well, can you do this and can you do that? But actually, we liked it better when we didn't make any changes, because then they were like, oh, wait, okay, so you can move the light. So what would I do when the lights change? Like, what thing can I do now that would express the difference that I can see when the audience actually engage in a particular way? So it's actually very hopeful, actually, that we can just make these like creative things based on a lot of constraints.
Thank you. And Marco, what would be your opinion on this performance and interactive systems question?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I agree with Ray that talking about online performance, this is a different genre. Like if you want to work in that, and that also online performance exists since 30 years and more. We're rediscovering the hot water. But it's a specific format, and it has to be treated as such. It's not enough, and it's meaningless to take something that is made for a real life context and put it online or expect that it would be anything closer to it. It will not. So that's just because it's a different medium, it's a different experience. People is doing things at home while they're watching. Everything is different. Then to the question of more general question about interactivity. So it's very interesting how the concept of interactivity has changed across the years. So I work with interactive stuff since 15 years, so 16 years. And I spent actually a lot of time in the past in the community for new musical instruments, new interfaces for musical expression at 9. And their interactivity is one of the main topics. But sometimes, maybe too often times, interactivity get reduced to its own functionality. And this is something that I never liked too much. And so in more recent years, like in the past 10 years I've been working with AI, what I've been trying to do in all the new pieces is to create softwares and machines that are immediately capable of demonstrating some kind of agency. So a different degree of agency. You know, if I have a prosthesis on my face, like in my piece I invited, then of course you see the agency of the machine doing it, moving in a certain way. But you could also fail at that if you were just programming a robotic machine to repeat the same action based on instruction. So that's something that I don't do, for instance. So I rather program the machine in a way that it generates its own movement by perceiving sensorially the space, the body of the performer, other things on stage. And so the behavior of the machine on stage, when you look at it, it's changing continuously. It demonstrates some kind of animalness to it. And this allows the audience to make their own interpretation of this thing within the aesthetic world that the performance inhabits. And the same goes for algorithms. So lately we've been working a lot with the computer vision, but the way we're using it, it's really a hack to. So in the UR performance that I showed the video there, I didn't explain it because I can just quickly say now, what's happening there is an AI algorithm based on computer vision that tries to recognize the shape of my body as I move through this playing choreography. So what we did is that we basically screw up the learning of the machine, because the more the machine learned my shape, the more it brightened the space with massive lights. So it enters in a feedback with itself, and this, curiously enough, generates audio and light forms that follow this feedback. So there you have this system as an ecosystem that has its own agency, and the performer interact, if you want, or is part of this ecosystem together with the audiences. So that's the kind of way that I try to think about this stuff.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go for the next artist video from Pei-Chwen LIN. Please show the video first, and then please make your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tamas.
Please speak a bit about these really interesting and very high-level 3D works.
Thank you. Please show my PPT. Okay, I call my work Equine is I try to represent the technology production created by human being when human claim himself as a creator. So it's kind of a very ironic way to create this, people call post-human being, or I call her Equine. Next. Okay, I'd like to share part of my draft of Equine, how I create her over the 15 years. But in 2016, I start to look back how I create Equine. So I call this series Making of Equine. I actually appropriate the image and concept from Da Vinci's Vvzela Man, which describing his work reflects my Equine in his draft with human in the center among the square and the circle with perfect body, which indicating the human claim himself as the center of the heaven and the earth with golden ratio proudly. Next. So 15 years ago, when I was creating Equine, in the beginning, I was trying to illustrate her as the hybrid of the human pupa and all the human beasts. You can see that Equine has the presentations of different texture on her head and the back. And I create her from the Maya software of the animation. Next. Later, I was thinking how to make Equine can be really present the technology production that dominates and seduces human being. And I was very lucky to find the symbol of 666. This is the image in the Bible because I was enlightened, given by the prophet Elijah home. The symbol of the 666 in the book of Revelation is called Mark of the Beast in the forehead and the right hand. Next. You can see the mark of 666 in different language on her forehead and the right hand. I utilize many verses from the Bible in 6 dominating language of the ancient time and the present day into many of my works. And the great image in the book of Daniel, especially, you can see the picture in the center. This is called great image, made of gold, silver, copper, iron, and half iron and half mud. It was interpreted as the male figure in the illustration of the Bible created by most of the artists in the history. But here, I apply the color of the big image into my Equine's body. Next. So as a result, Equine is not only the purpose of the idea of seduction body with hybrid texture and the Da Vinci's golden ratio, it also emphasizes the color and responding to the great image worshipped by human, just like the technology was worshipped by human being. So the next, I'd like to just show the solo exhibition I just had last year in Tainan Art Museum in Taiwan. And I'm very lucky I have my team with me. So this is the poster I show you. Next. Okay, we just saw the video in the this piece called Portrait of Equine. I actually tried to present the life of Equine was given by human from the perspective of the human as the creator. The next. This piece called Making of Equine 1, you can see that I combine, you can keep play the PPT. Da Vinci's Vvzela Man and my draft of the Equine, I represent in the computer software and recorded the process how I create her in a, oh, no, don't change. Yeah. In a computer animation software called Maya, the body of the Equine slowly transforms into the metal texture, and finally Equine is defined a great image by me, responding to golden head, silver breast, copper belly, iron legs, and half iron, half mud in the book of Daniel. Think the next. Okay, after that piece, I try to make the making of Equine present in a real space. So you can see the video. I actually use the image of the Da Vinci and the Equine and invite the audience put the MR helmet. So they will be very surprised to find the very huge image of Equine and Vegetarian man standing in front of you. So actually I try to criticize this Equine actually is in our time and in our lives now. Next, please. And this piece is a very large projection installation, and it's interactive installation. And I was very lucky can be present in a museum. I call the great image of Equine. Again, I emphasize the relationship between human and Equine. And the way human give life to Equine is similar how human can create technology product, but turn into worship her. The next. So this piece I actually present in this exhibition. I call her Making of Equine to create the latest facial recognition system, which discuss the technology have become the tool to monitor and control all of us. So I utilize the interactive system of iPhone 10, and which enable Equine to imitate the facial expression and the motion of the human when people interacting with her, just like the sky eyes, you know. This leads us to rethink the technology become eyes, you know, dominate and control, and sometimes make us fear. So this is the piece I present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the
Thomas.
interesting presentation. And it generates lots of questions, and maybe the other artists also have questions, but again, time, I'm very sorry about, you know, time. And I think I would like to give back the word to Anne, because I think Anne has also questions to all of us, you know. So and I would like to ask her to ask her question.
Before I have question, we have a question from Elke. She is very curious about David's work. The sound, is it part of your installation?
Yes, it's totally part of installation. Sometimes it's my body sound part of the installation. Like in the first piece, the body sound is building like music. In a way, my body is making sounds in the space, but also the sound of the machine is controlled to be like a synesthesia of the movement. So it's also part of this installation as well.
So thank you very much. So before you have other questions, maybe since we do not have enough time, I have my last question for every one of you, our panelists and our moderator. So the question is, can art be in line with online? So this is my last question. Can art be in line with online? So you can give me the answer in one sentence, one phrase, or just one word. So maybe start with Tamas.
Yes.
Good. Short and precise. Thank you. And Vivi?
Oh, 100.
Yes.
Sorry, sorry. I heard Vivi.
Yeah, it is you.
Oh, 100% when it's properly used. Yeah.
And David?
Yes, but not only.
Okay. The answer cannot be yes again. Okay. Give me some other word, please. So, Professor Lin? Professor Lin?
Yes, and
Yes.
my future project actually already concerned how I put my EEPROM inline or online. In fact, I try to use the database to make more knowledge, to learn by EEPROM. So I think the human brain or whatever the thinking or the philosophy or the thinking will be imitated by EEPROM in the future. But of course, I want to access the internet to get the database, from the internet. So definitely my work will develop online one day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Ray? My question is, can art be in line with online?
It depends on what we call art. But I think I would say that like in its current form, if we just talk about like traditional arts, I don't think it can be fully online in the way that we experience it ourselves in person. It's a different experience. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Marco?
So I think that the online should be first aligned with real life, and then we're gonna answer your question.
Thank you. So, Joseph? Hello, Joseph. My question is, can art be in line with online? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I just got the permission to unmute myself. So I think, yeah, to be honest, it never the same. It definitely never the same, especially for me, because it's look like everyone else is quite using the machines as tools to express their art. But for myself, it's physical is quite important. But of course, we can go online, but it's never the same. We can express something else in maybe in a VR environment. But I think, honestly, 100% honest, I think the tangible things, you need to have a physical work. Of course, we can extend it to the virtual space, but the physical touch is never the same online.
Thank you very much. So now maybe we have a group photos together. For the audience, please join us and turn your video on. So please, okay. Hi, cheese.
Cheese.
Cheese. Last one. Thank you.
Thank you.